right. What do you mean we're on? We're on. Now? So is you recording? What do you mean it's already? G'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host. And apart from that rocky start, it's time to sit down, get that 6-point racing harness on, buckle up tight, because it's time for another segment of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, with John Deere Keeper of the Greens, wonderful supporters and partners of the podcast that we have, I've got some news because you know that we're getting ever so close to the ASTMA and GMA National Turf Conference, combined conference that's going to be at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre. It's coming in a couple of weeks, actually, June 22 to 26. Now, it's the combined conference this year with the Australian Sports Turf Managers Association and the General Managers Association. So it's a combined ASTMA GMA conference. This is a big one. It's a big daddy. There's going to be so many people there, and there's going to be lots to see and lots to learn. So there's a great opportunity for you to get down there and learn a lot of things, catch up with a lot of peers, and go and see lots of stuff at the trade show. And by lots of stuff, I mean your first stop, of course, is going to be stand number 30, the John Deere trade show stand. Now, the trade show stand for John Deere is right outside the doors from the education entrance. So when you're finished with your talks and you come in for the morning tea, you come in for lunch straight after the talks, and you've been listening to the wonderful speakers that are on this year as part of the program, you're going to come in and John Deere's right there inside the doors. So there'll be one of the first stands you're going to see, number 30. Come in and see the John Deere trade show stand. And the reason that I'm so excited about it is that I'm going to be there with the John Deere team. This is a great opportunity for you to come and talk to the John Deere team. It's a great opportunity for me to meet you. So when you're coming in, come and say hi. Don't be shy. I want to meet you. I want to shake your hand. I want to say g'day. And I want to see as many of you, ladies and gentlemen, the superstars of turf, as I call you, because that's what you do every day for a living. You are the superstars. You help deliver all of the wonderful turf services across all the wonderful golf courses of Australia and New Zealand. And I know that there's also going to be a number of you that are coming over from New Zealand, as you always do. Melbourne's a wonderful conference venue, and lots of people enjoy getting down there. So come to stand number 30, John Deere stand. I'll be there for the week at the trade show with the John Deere team. So come and say g'day. Now, if you do come and say hi, I've also got something special for the first few of you that come in. I've organised something with the John Deere team, and I've got a special gift. So when you come and say g'day, I'll be able to give it to you as well. So looking forward to saying hi. And there's lots of things on show at the John Deere Trade Show stand. Now, I'm going to save the details of just what's there. There's a Big Daddy coming in, one of the brand new machines that they have been talking about and they've been working so hard on is going to be there. More details of that to come, and it will come in the very next segment of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens that'll come out just before the National Turf Conference. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to see you at the trade show. We want to see you at the ASTMA conference. So, for those of you that have already booked and you're ready to go, keep John Deere in mind and come and say hi. And for those of you that aren't sure whether you're able to come and make it, if you do, make sure you peg us down as the first stop to visit when you get into the trade show. Want to see you over at the John Deere stand. I'd love to hear from you who your favourite guest is that I've had on John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens. There's been a plethora of wonderful guests. Maybe it'll be one of these next 2 interviews that I have before the conference, before we're down there. But in the meantime, until the Turf Conference, where you get to see things up close at the John Deere Trade Show stand, head to their website, deere.com.au. And as they say, let's move your game forward together. Without further ado, this is episode number 188. Ladies and gentlemen, we are venturing far and wide, as I love to continue doing on John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, and we are going out to the Wild West, but far northwest is probably the best place I'll put it, to Karratha, which is a remote town, but we're going to leave it there. We'll learn a lot more, and I've got joining us on the line, superintendent at Karratha Golf Club, Callum Hitching. G'day, Callum. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you going?
Very well, thank you, mate. And I really do appreciate you agreeing to come on the podcast. It's great to hear from people that are from other areas and less populated areas, mate. I'm looking forward to a chat with what you got going on up there. It's pretty wild, pretty remote, pretty different, I'm sure, from the rest of the metropolitan part of Australia that I often talk to.
Yeah, we are. We're a bit remote where we are. I think nearest greens are about 800 k's north, and bit over 1,000 k's south. So yeah, there's a bit of a gap between good golf courses around this part of the world.
So you don't have competitive pennants regularly around there, I don't say.
Yeah, no, and the unfortunate part about it is when they do try and play interclub matches and they travel out to the sand scrapes, those poor buggers, when they come over here, they struggle.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
wow.
no, we have had a few little. There is a rivalry, but unfortunately, yeah, when they come in, they struggle to play on the grass.
There you go. That's interesting. I would not have picked that you'd have interclub games and events up there being,
Yeah,
this. How far is it to Port Hedland from you guys?
we got about 220 k's to Headland.
Right.
But yeah, we have a Pilbara series, and we all try and support each other's clubs. So yeah, we travel as far as Newman. I think that's that's got to be 7 hours, I think. And
Oh wow.
yeah, we've got
That's wild.
Exmouth's part of our tournament
Okay.
set up as well for the Pilbara events, and yeah, people get up to Broome and Derby occasionally as well, which
Yep.
there's 800 k's and 1,000 out to, or a bit more out to Derby as well. So
Wow. So I
yeah,
was looking on a map and I thought, where's the near? How far is it to Perth? Because obviously looking on a map, see we're up the northwest, and I don't know that region at all. Never been there. So I was like, is Perth the nearest? And in my head, I was like, maybe it's Darwin. It's 1,500 k's to Perth according to Google Maps, but it's almost 2,500 to Darwin. So it's a lot further to Darwin than I thought.
yeah, it certainly is a bit of a trip by
Unbelievable.
road, that's for sure.
Yeah, by road. No, it's the only way to get around, I'm sure, with ease is by plane, but by road, wow, that's something different. But mate, look, we're going to talk about a few things and what it's like living up there and looking after a golf course up there that has had a bit of work done on course, and we'll get all into that later on, which I'm looking forward to, mate. But I start off with a little bit of fun with Steve's Super 7 questions. Are you ready to go for something lighthearted to get going?
I'll hit me, go.
Let's go. Now, I know you've got a cool beverage in hand, but have you got a hot beverage of choice, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee. Very good, nice and quick. Number 2, stripes or no stripes on fairways? This is often controversial.
Yeah, I'm a no stripe man up here.
Okay, very good. Number 3, tee markers set up. Do you prefer to have the tee markers set up to the full width of a tee cut, or do you have them more narrow and move them around?
Personal choice is narrow and move them around, but it's one of those jobs that we get. We've got a bit of a weird one here. We've got volunteers that do the tee setup, so it generally is never where I want them. They love putting the tees back in the same places, and we run out of grass on a regular basis.
I'm going to drill into here a little bit because that sounds, apart from the volunteer help in setting up the markers, what you just said is nearly exactly what I used to have at Katoomba, where I was dictated to by my committee that markers go here on Wednesday comp, they go here on Saturday comp, and unless it's a medal on a Saturday, then they go over here. But I was basically told they had to be in the same spot all the time without fail. Do you have a reasoning for that? Do you know why you think that happens?
I think it's the lack of education for these guys. Yeah, we're a public golf course, and the blue markers come out for the weekend comp, and they're usually up near the yardage blocks. But yeah, during the week we've got these white markers, and they just sit in the same bloody place all the time, and they mow on the tees as well. So yeah, it's a bit of one of those things. They only move them when they get on there with the mower, and they, for some reason, they put them back in the same places, and doesn't matter how much you ask, they keep going back in there.
There you go. It's interesting. Like I said, I just remember the regular battles that I used to have. And like you say, you get to the point where there's just divots everywhere, and they're like, well, just move them, 6 inches then, instead of moving them right away. And anyway, just something that, I was interested
where maintenance is something is just, I don't know, they just don't get it.
Yeah, interesting.
Is what it is.
Number 4, we move on. Your favourite grass variety. Now, I don't know if that's relative to where you are because it's a unique part of the world, but maybe something to do with where you've worked in the past. What do you have a favourite?
Well, I don't think you can go past Pencross, but now I'm now I'm running some Velveteen Paspalum, so you can still make them talk as well, which is good.
Wow.
So yeah, there's some pretty good, and Santarana for fairways and tees.
Okay, very
So
good.
yeah, you can't really narrow it down, but
There's a few to play with.
Horses for courses.
Sure.
There's a lot of good Zoysias getting around as well. So if I had the knowledge and the opportunity, maybe early on, I might have gone with some fine leaf Zoysia here as well. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So we've got a few up there that you enjoy working with. Like you say, horses for courses. Very good. Number 5, should bunkers be presented perfectly for golf in the way that we prepare turf surfaces for golf, do you think?
I think bunkers as a hazard alone are tough enough. And if I've got a bunker, it has to be pristine. Otherwise, there's no point having it.
Okay, very good. Always good to hear different ideas and what people think. Number 6, what is your opinion of green speeds?
Well, that's a hard one. I mean, it's the same. I mean, if you've got windy conditions or you've got undulations, you've just got to match what your green's built for and the situation you're in. But I think if they're flat and there's no wind, make them as fast as you like. And if you're in a public setting and you've got public golfers, you've got to make them suitable for them. So in some cases, it makes it a bit easier. In other cases, people might look at you and think you can't do your job properly. So.
Look, you know what? I think what you said there is right in that it's relative to the circumstances, your clientele would be the types of golfers you have, but also your site and situations. And I think that they're all points that need to be considered before there's any direction or people go out on their own and say, this is what I'm going to do to prepare the greens. I think it's that you got to understand what you've got to deal with first before you make a move. That's mate, well said. Thank you. And the final one. This is great. We're ploughing through them very good. Number 7, which golf course, not your own, so it's paying it forward, which golf course would you recommend people visit and why?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of them.
Look, there's plenty, and it's obviously a big question, but let's see if we can narrow it down maybe to Australia and New Zealand maybe rather than just global.
The one that just keeps on sticking in my head is Jack's Point.
Really?
I was lucky enough to go over there, and wow.
I am envious, by the way.
They have got some. It's just the whole package. You've got the landscape, you've got the surfaces. Food and beverage was pretty good as well, obviously. But just an incredible part of the world to be playing golf.
Jack's Point, awesome. Yep. Now, I've heard many, many good things from a number of people, and they often put that right at the top of their trees. It sounds like you're no different. So, mate, that's good. I'll have that linked in the show notes for anyone who's not sure about Jack's Point, because it is one that many people who have had the opportunity to go there come away just saying, when can I go back, because it's that good. So, mate, very good. That's Steve Super 7. I love that. We went through it very well and nice and quick, which is great to hear. Now, Callum, you we mentioned you're in a remote part of Australia in a sense. How big is Karratha as a town?
As a town, I think population's only about 15,000 maybe, but the city incorporates some surrounding towns as well. They look after the mining port, Dampier, and then we've also got Roebourne and Wickham, Point Sampson. So it's a bit of they sort of draw on the populations of those places as well.
Okay, so it's a reasonable.
Probably brings it up to about 25 to 30.
So that's pretty reasonable. I mean, in my head, not like I said, not having been there, I've just got there might be 1,000 people there. So it's a pretty decent size.
No, we're meant to be the city of the north for WA. So there's I think 7 regional centres that the government's focusing on at the moment, and we're one of them.
Okay, very good. Now, you're in this part of the country that not many people get to venture to. It's a unique part of the country, and we'll get to Karratha as the golf course or where you're working and what it's all about. I want to get there soon, but I want to build our way there. So, mate, if you wouldn't mind, a part that I do like to hear about is your greenkeeping background. You're currently superintendent Karratha, but how did you get to a point where you started in greenkeeping? What was a catalyst for you? How did you get into greenkeeping? And then how did you make those steps to get to Karratha up in the northwest of the country, please?
Sure. Well, I think there was a bit of a pattern early. The old man used to look after a turf wicket when I was born in Exmouth, so I used to spend a bit of time there with him in the afternoons when I was a young fella. So
So Exmouth, that's
that probably started it. Yeah,
up the northwest as well. That's like
yeah.
Monkey Mia region. Is that
Oh,
right?
further. It's about 600 k's
Oh, okay.
west of us. So
Okay.
Ningaloo
That's
Reef,
the one I'm thinking of. Yep.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. All right.
So yeah, there was that, and then he played golf, and I used to follow him around there, and we used to volunteer there and do a bit of mowing and all the things that you probably be frowned upon these days when you've got a 10-year-old out there sitting on an out front, bouncing around in the bush. But it
Yeah.
was good fun.
That's unreal. That would have
Um,
been a lot, yeah, like you say, fun, interesting. It's
yeah,
when you're a kid at that age, and you won't. These things aren't. You can't happen anymore, unfortunately, in days gone by. But back in the day, that's fun as a kid, right? Going around with dad,
absolutely. Yeah.
and
No,
you
we used to
cherish
do a lot
those
of
memories.
things. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So a bit of fun at
Um,
Exmouth as a kid,
yeah.
growing up with dad working on the turf wicket.
Yep. Yep. Bit of golf, a lot of fishing, obviously, and yeah. Then we headed south. Yeah, we moved down to Busselton, finished
Okay.
high school down there, and had a few little bits and pieces, jobs around the place. Got dragged back to Exmouth because you always have good memories and you want to go and relive them. So went up there and worked on a prawn trawler for a bit, and
Wow.
yeah, did a season when Cyclone Vance went through, so that was a bit exciting.
Is that what you
Um,
call cyclones? A bit exciting up there.
well, it was that year.
Hang on,
Not much of town left.
I'm gonna ask you because not many people. There's two things there. I'm curious. Prawn trawling. Like
Yeah.
there's that kind of stuff we see on TV in some of these bloody wild adventures and things. What's that like as a job? I mean, I know I'm straying right away from the core of this, but is that
Yeah.
like, are you out there for like days or weeks on end on a trawler, or is it just day, go out and come back? How's that work?
Well, that particular year, Kalis made a decision that they wanted to send fresh produce over to Asia. So we were in and out every day, but basically you worked 28 days straight and then you had the moon off. So you'd have 4 days,
Oh,
which sort of, yeah, when you're in working 28 nights, you can imagine your body clock's a bit messed up. So the 4 days that you get off,
wow.
yeah, you're falling asleep at the table in restaurants with your missus. You shouldn't be driving, and yeah, things get a bit crazy.
That's
So
full on because it's
yeah,
nights, isn't it? Prawning is at night, isn't it?
yeah. So we jump on the boat about 4 o'clock. You'd either be chefing in the kitchen for the rest of the crew and the skipper, or you'd be out on deck working the deck. You might get 2 or 3 hours through the night to have a snooze, but it's broken sleep. Yeah,
Wow.
we'd bring in anywhere between sort of 500 kilos to 1.5 ton of prawns every day. And yeah, it was pretty hectic, full on work. Yeah.
I bet. How long did you do that for?
Oh, just one season. That was enough to get it out of my system.
I'm sure it was. And
Yeah.
and going through a cyclone. You mentioned Cyclone Vance. What year was this?
That
Ish.
was 1999, March 99, I think.
Right, okay. So that
Yeah.
ripped through that region, did it?
Yeah, yeah. Direct hit in Exmouth. I think there was like an 8 meter storm surge on one side of the Gulf,
Oh,
and
wow.
town got flooded, and there was, lost power for a couple of weeks in town.
Far
So it
out.
was pretty full on.
Jeez, there
Yeah.
you go. Okay.
We were lucky enough not to actually be in town at the time. We were in Fremantle getting the boat ready. So
Oh,
it
Fremantle
was,
down in Perth.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right,
So we had
okay.
to drive. Yeah, the boats go down and spend summer in Perth, so they're safe and they get refitted, and all the cooling systems
Ah,
and
wow.
refrigerants and engines and stuff.
Okay,
So
so that's
then,
the
yeah,
off
you drive
season.
them
Yeah,
up.
right.
Yeah, drive them up. I think it was 80 hours in the boat, bouncing along. So
Distances are wild in WA. It's crazy.
yeah,
So you do that for a season, back up at
yeah,
Exmouth.
yeah.
How do you
And
play from
then,
there?
well, it was go home. I probably should have, you know, taken the cash and done a lap or done something, but no, went home and a little bit of time off. Did some sleeping, which was needed, and yeah, about February 2000 started my apprenticeship. There was a job advertised, and yeah, just went for it, and
As
obviously,
an apprentice greenkeeper?
yeah, 21, yep.
Okay, so you got in probably a little bit later than I would have thought traditional, being a younger person at like 17, 18.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was just because you wanted to go do the prawning thing and just do something different? You didn't really have you hadn't made a decision to say, I want to go into greenkeeping?
Nah, not at all. I'd had a few random jobs after school, did all sorts of things, cleaned carpets, did insulation in roofs, worked at McDonald's, just all those teenager things that you do. But
Yep.
yeah, saw that as an opportunity to do a trade, and I was into my golf a fair bit.
Okay.
Was never going to be very good, but good enough to have a bit of an idea how to get the ball around. So
Okay, cool. So
thought I'd have a crack at that.
where was the crack at? Which club?
Busselton,
Okay.
yeah, in the southwest, yeah.
Righto. So I've had Lance Knox, who's current super at Busselton, been on the podcast
Correct.
before, and there's lots of good stuff comes out of Busselton Golf Club. There's lots of award-winning apprentices.
Oh.
Mate, were you one of those? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I might have been. Might have won a couple of things when I was down there.
So you start your apprenticeship at Busselton. What was it like? Was it how different? Did you fit straight in? Was it what you thought it was going to be? What did you think?
Yeah, well, we had a pretty young boss when I started. We had one of the Dennis brothers, and ED was a pretty passionate boss.
Yep.
Had a lot of knowledge. He's had some great training along the way. He had some pretty impressive supers, fairly decent list of blokes he's worked with. So yeah, there was a fair bit of knowledge come from him, and I already had a pretty decent work ethic, but he always pushed us to go pretty hard. Yeah, it was good. It was plug-in plastons on fairways, and I think we had some automatic tees and greens, but it was, pretty hectic at the start.
Old school.
Yeah, real old school. But we managed to, I think the club got a grant early, and we were putting in a new retic system fairly early on in the process. So that was pretty exciting for a young fella to, come on board, and everything was new and exciting. So it was good fun.
That's awesome, being involved in that project. A lot of experience early that's not something young people get to do, or people in their apprenticeship early on getting to see and be part of seeing those things go in. And that's a good lot of knowledge to gain from a project like that.
Yeah, well, I think most of them, like if you've got a QCV, they only know that they're there for hand watering. So a knocker sprinkler, they probably don't even know what one of those is these days.
That's all I ever had at my golf course. We didn't even have bloody pop-ups. It's old school still, even in 2013. But
wow.
But there you go. So that's good. Now, did you finish your time at Busselton? How did you travel through was it 4 years you do?
Yeah, well, we
3?
went. I think I started in February, and I started with another young fella who was from Margaret River Way. And we started our TAFE in March, so we were straight into it. There was no year on the job. So
okay.
I think we were both qualified by September, October 2023.
Yeah, wow.
So it's pretty quick. But I think being down there, we were hands on with everything. We were fixing the machines and doing the retic, and we just didn't have a choice. I think there's only 4 of us on staff at the time. One qualified guy and a full-timer that was doing a fair bit of mowing, and then the 2 apprentices. So, we're tucked in at the deep end. Yeah,
right. Busy time.
Yeah.
So you complete your trade. Do you stay on at Busselton?
Yeah, I stayed on. They chucked me in as super in 2005 when ED left. I think he went from Busselton to Melville Glades from memory.
Okay, up in the city.
And, they just promoted from within, and it was super there from 2005 till 2010, 2011, I think, somewhere around then.
So you were superintendent off essentially, you been qualified for long?
Oh, only about 18 months, not even.
And then you were in the right spot at the right time, and the club saw that you were the right person for the year. That's a big nod.
Yeah. Well, I'd been, I think I'd been playing juniors there for 6 years before I started my apprenticeship. So I suppose it helped having those relationships in the club to begin with.
Sure.
So yeah, hopefully, I must have gained some respect of them, and they've seen that I've been out there working hard. So yeah, they gave me a crack.
Yeah, and look, I say this a lot, but I think clubs don't make those decisions lightly. Even if you've got the right connections, and you've shown that you've got the ability, they still have to evaluate whether you're going to be the right person rather than just
Sure.
well, we'll give it a roll of the dice and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a calculated move, but that's outstanding. So you were there for how long as superintendent? That's that's 5-6 years.
6 years, and then I left, went to the dark side, did a bit of work for a local contractor.
Okay.
That was about 12 months, and then I was back at the golf course again.
At Busselton again?
Yeah, back there again.
As super again?
The pool was there for going back and doing that. So, yeah, went back to being the super at Busselton.
Wow, that's huge. So during your time there as superintendent, were there any projects that you were able to do, or did you oversee anything different? Did you have the opportunity to do any of those sorts of things?
The budget was pretty lean for the period that I was there. We rebuilt a lot of tees and tried to improve. The original tees were pretty average, so we focused on creating some decent flat surfaces and bit of landscaping.
Okay.
We did a bit of work because we had treated effluent there. We did a bit of work with re-vegging and we created a few little nutrient stripping basins on some of our surface drainage that was going into I think they call it the New River, which used to flow past the course. But at the time, because there was we pushed hard for improvements in the facilities, so we ended up being able to put in new bunded fuel storage, chemical storage, and washdown bay. So that chewed up a fair bit of capital.
Well, they're pretty good investments just the same. I mean, they're important, aren't they?
Absolutely. Very important.
Getting your compound right and getting those sorts of, they're pretty environmentally sensitive projects as well, just the same. You've got to have those right. So they're good investments from the club to do. So, mate, I'm curious, a second stint after a short break, continuation as superintendent of Busselton. How long was your second stanza?
We only went through to about 2014, so I think it was about 3 or 4 years back there.
Yep.
And the opportunity arose. Dickie threw my hat in the ring and told these people up here in Karratha how good I was, and then we had to put a tender in for the position up here. And there was a lot of paperwork involved. So, but we moved up in September 2014.
2014. So, for reference, Dickie is Richard Chamberlain, golf course architect that I've had on the podcast in the past, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. So, he's a champion fella, and so he was doing work redesigning the golf course. Is that right? They went to putting grass greens in. Was that part of that process?
Yeah, we had a group of committee people here that they created their own little a little group called the Grassing of the Greens Committee. So they were pushing pretty hard, probably before 2010. They were doing feasibility studies and trying to get information together. The golf course is owned by the local council, so they had to present all that information to them and try and get the project off and running. So part of that was the council looking for someone to do a master plan, and Richard was lucky enough to be given that role. So
wow.
Then the journey began.
The journey began. So 2014 you were engaged up at Karratha, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Mate, that's a pretty awesome journey to get back up to the northwest. Like I suppose you're probably loosely from that area. I know a little bit further away at Exmouth, but generally speaking, you'd probably say you're from that region, which is nice. Was it nice to go back there for permanent work in a way, in a different form, something that you're good at and you knew for a long period of time you've been doing?
Yeah, it's always nice to get away from the rain and the cold from down south, but obviously you're replacing it with 40-degree days.
I laugh out of the frying pan into the fire. Bloody hell. The cold.
Yeah, I moved up in a camper trailer and they chucked me on a barren site with no shade for the first 6 weeks I was in a caravan park waiting to find some accommodation for the family. So yeah, it was hot.
Wow.
No air conditioning, and it wasn't very pleasant. So,
Oh,
but yeah, we
that's
got through that.
that's not my idea of fun. That is genuine more hard work than working on a golf course. Just
Yeah.
being in that environment, I would have thought, mate. That's a great journey to get to there, and congratulations on your career to that point, mate. It's that's awesome to hear, especially your time getting quickly up into the superintendent's role at Busselton. So, mate, really impressive to hear. Now, I'd like to dig more into Karratha as we get to this point now in 2014 with you there, mate. What was the process like? You mentioned you had to tender for the job. Can you tell us a little bit more of what was involved in that for you to be in the role of looking after the golf course as superintendent?
Well, they delivered a document which outlined what the plan was for the golf course. So there was a new irrigation system being installed.
Right.
They wanted to improve the facilities. Transfer the sand scrapes into grass greens. They had the plan from Richard, so everything was in place, and they wanted someone to basically oversee the installation. So it was basically a construction and growing superintendent, and
Okay.
then the irrigation there tapped on the side as well.
Yeah. Right. Okay. That would have been pretty. That would have been a pretty full-on project, I imagine.
Well, it was going to be, but it was at that point of time where we had a change of government, and there was a thing called royalties for regions, which was working wonders for areas like Karratha, where there was a lot of money being spent by the state government because we're basically the the dollar generator for the whole state. So
Wow.
there was new hospitals, new recreational facilities, and all sorts of things happening at the time. But they lost half of the funding as I was basically landing in town.
Oh.
So when I got here, it was, oh, by the way, and which was a bit hard to take at the time, but we
I
worked
bet.
through it.
Far out.
So yeah, we did a bit of a bit of toing and froing, and basically came up with a plan that, well, we can't build new greens without a new irrigation system, so let's overlay a new system which matches with the current layout of the course with a few changes. And yeah, so we're irrigating the sand scrapes, but also trying to make sure that the new grass greens would fit inside that irrigation system as well.
Oh wow. Okay, that's unique. It
Bit
sounds
different.
unique from here. Anyway, I'm not understanding really.
Makes it very hard to change contours dramatically when you've got a system that's sort of catering for the current landscape.
Wow. Okay. So, did that then, I suppose, shoehorn the design into a certain way? Did it, or what was going to be able to be done?
Well, we actually, the green designs didn't change a great deal.
Okay.
Because there wasn't a huge amount of material being moved. In some cases, we were pushing up and using what was available in the vicinity. In other areas that we were bringing some dirt in, but it was more so just the sprinkler head locations. So we've probably got some laterals that are a little bit more buried than you'd like, but most of it's worked out, and we were able to using the risers, get the sprinklers into positions that allowed for some changes in contouring.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, very interesting part of the process. Had you ever you'd never really done any work like that, overseeing a job like this, had you?
No. We were lucky enough to be on site when we did the irrigation installation at Busselton, but I managed to sneak into the role without even building a green, but somehow I ended up building 15 here, and 5 were done by professionals. So
Okay, there you go. Well, you say professionals, you're one, just without the experience at the time.
Try to be, yeah.
Let's not take away from your skill set, mate. Let's talk it up, not down. That's interesting. How long was that happening for? Was that over a number of years? Was it like 3 years or 5 years, or how long was that construction of the new golf course, if you like?
Well, the first grass green went in 10 years ago in June, actually.
Right.
I think 11 years. 2015.
Okay.
We pulled the trigger on the retic, and we shaped up the 18th as a grass green, and we also put a putting green in. So those two we shaped in house, and Richard was on site for that. We moved we moved 2 fairways and did some bulk earthworks on those holes, and the first lot of grass went down June 2015.
You say you constructed greens, the 18th and the putting green there. I'm curious, again, being the remoteness of Karratha relative to other things, what did you do by way of greens profile? I mean, what's the site like in general? And when you're constructing a green, do you have access to, USGA spec sands, or what did you do there for a greens profile? How did that work?
Well, we're on a bit of a sand dune. We've got about 3 different layers of soil profile on the golf course. So
Okay.
we're right behind mud flats. So we've got a line of mangroves that border the northern side of the golf course. And then it's very coarse sand, broken down shell, coral. Yeah, it's pretty hectic.
That's
for
wild.
A few holes.
Right.
Then we move into more of a natural sand dune profile, but it's a bit coarser than what you would find down on the south coast. So the sand's pretty, like, you could almost say you're running hydroponically. Like, we got root systems that go down well over a metre because there's just so much pore space. The roots just disappear. Yeah, it's crazy.
A metre?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, over a metre in places. Yeah, it's mental.
Grass?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
That is insane.
It's good in a way and makes it hard in other ways. But when we water, we're sort of, we'll get into that a bit later. But the watering side of things is a bit different.
Yeah. Okay.
But
now,
we've got a bit of floodplain for sort of a couple of the holes, and then the middle section is just a beautiful, heavy dune soil that's just pretty.
So you use
epic.
the natural sand that you have available to build your greens profile, do you?
We shaped up and boxed out, so everything's pushed up. Some areas, we were burying thatch from the old turf that we had on site, just to build some height into it, and then other areas we just dug a few little hollows out to make mounds and just change how everything contours. But we came up with a blend from the local sand, but it's not the stuff that's on site. The stuff on site compacts pretty hard, so we've got a dune sand that we've blended with some local pindan, which is a red sand that has a bit more fines in it. So generally speaking, some people would say that it's quite a fine sand, but it suits what we're doing up here quite well.
Okay. So do you need to put drainage in the site in the greens underneath, or it's just the sand profile on top of what you have?
No, everything's very free draining up here.
Wow. That's unbelievable. That's very interesting. Very interesting. So, getting back to how long, you mentioned that those first couple of greens have been in the ground for 11 years now. How long did it take you to get through to the point where the golf club, I'm fast forwarding through everything here, but how long did it take you to get through the build from that moment to when everyone stuck their hands there and said, that's it, we're all finished this major project of rebuilding the golf course?
Well, the last greens were planted in Easter 4 years ago. So it's that 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay. So only just recently. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a very long, drawn-out process.
No doubt. And look, these things don't always happen in a hurry, and it's relative to, funds availability and like you mentioned, you throw changes of government in place or council and being a public space for golf, all sorts of things can throw spanners at you from time to time, I'm sure. But that makes a long process. But mate, I'm curious. So we've got that idea of the time frame to build. I'd like you to set the scene for us though a little bit more about the site itself. What is it like there? You mentioned the mangroves to the north. Is it how big's the site? Has it got much undulation in it? Is it flat? Tell us a little bit about what you have.
We've probably got I'm probably sitting on about 150 acres, I suppose.
Okay.
We've got a bit of room either side, but yeah, we got town to the south of the golf course, and then we've got mud flats to the west, which sort of create a boundary because they're tidal. So
Oh.
we can't go any further west than what we have. East of the course, we've got some drainage creeks that run from the subdivisions to the south of us, and they go back out into the ocean. But there's land to the south is pretty flat, and there's sort of like a floodplain from all the drainage in town. And then
Right.
we've got some massive hills as well. So they're just rocks and spinifex. We've got some amazing views.
Wow.
Probably, I think we only get to about, I think the highest point on the golf course might be 8 meters above sea level.
Okay. Yep.
So we do actually have some, groundwater tidal sort of ponds on a couple of holes. So,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
right. That's interesting. So that all bodes well. Is it? Do you have grass? So I'm curious to go into a little bit more on the turf services. Maybe you can explain to us what turf services you have across the golf course, and is that part of the world, knowing that it gets hot in general, but it's just hot and wet in summer and just hot every other time, from my understanding, is do you have rough? Like, how does that work? Can you explain the turf services and what your rough looks like? Is it sand like Kalgoorlie, or is it desert like Kalgoorlie, I should say, where it's just not grass? Or do you have other things?
We have got quite substantial amounts of grass rough. So we've got a grass called buffel grass, which is it's not a native. I think it's an introduced thing that was brought into the Pilbara and Kimberley for cattle feed originally. I think that's how
Oh,
it worked.
okay.
It's spread like wildfire. So we have that in between the fairways and some local bushes. I think they're melaleucas or something like that. So they're quite clumpy. They throw new plants off the root system and things like that. So it's
Right.
quite a strange setup. But when it rains pretty hard. But like this year, I think we only had 3 or 4 days of rain over summer. But when it does come in, like we might get 100 mil in one hit. So it's pretty crazy. I
That's
think
the
we had
part.
two.
That's
I think
just
last summer we had 276 mil in one day, and then
wow.
we had nothing for a couple of months afterwards. So yeah,
That is the most extreme thing. I just can't comprehend that. You have nothing, and then all of a sudden you get 200 in a day. I
yeah,
remember we had, Katoomba, we had a real bad summer storm one day, and it dumped down like in a day we had like 250 or 300 mil. And it was like nothing anyone had ever experienced, right? But that's how it just works up there with you guys. So that's I won't say
and
normal
not
loosely, but it's kind of, that's just how it is.
and not a puddle on the golf course.
Yeah, wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, does rain like that do damage? Because, like I said, going back to what I know, when we get 100 mil in a day, there's some serious things going on that causes all sorts of headaches.
We don't get so much damage on the course. We
Okay.
did when it was sand scrapes, like that you would get wind erosion, water erosion, but the current layout, it just takes it in and sends it away. So we have one drainage creek that runs parallel to the golf course, and that'll flood probably. Uh, it, it, I think we get a bit of water on one of the fairways maybe for the first 50 metres at the most, and that's it. So everything else has been designed above that level,
Yeah,
and they've
right.
done some work to open it up and widen it so the water can get away a bit better. So
Okay.
we're pretty lucky. It's a strange one, but we don't get any issues like that.
That's amazing. Oh, unbelievable landscape. Is it red sand style? Is that what you have up there? Is it red colour or is it not?
We do have a section that is quite heavy and red, and
Okay.
then we've got a bit of a transition where the white sand from the ocean has been stained brown from the red dust and the pindan. So
Wow.
and then we've got just like a bleached beigey coloured coarse sand and shell for part of it as well.
Shell and coral. That just sounds weird.
Yeah, it's different. It's not good for the irrigation system, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, no, that's no one's idea of fun. So buffel grass is what you have between the holes for the
Yep.
most part in the rough. Not no, is that a coarse grass? Can you describe that?
Well, it's a coarse tufting grass, and it has a like a black seed head. Going back to TAFE, I wouldn't know how to describe it. I
Yeah,
can't
no,
remember, but
yeah, no,
but
I mean, like I just think when you say buffel grass, in my head immediately is buffalo. So I'm thinking coarse, fat, chunky grass with stolons everywhere. But it's not that.
no, it stands up fairly upright.
Okay.
It's very very hardy, obviously being up here.
Yep.
And throws. Yeah, this time of the year, like it rained in Feb, and it's still standing there beautifully now, and it got up to about 3 foot tall before we actually started to get anyone to come and mow it.
3 feet tall and you're rough.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
So,
anyway,
how short do you cut it? And what do you just cut it with an out front mower or a slasher, or what do you have?
Yeah, it's been slashed down to a couple of hundred now, so it does give a really good defined look on the edges of the fairways. So yeah, we try and get it down to about 100, and then deep in the bush, it's at about 200. It's got a nice straw colour. So yeah, we've got good definition.
Wow, that sounds unreal. You have to send me some photos so I can share them, because I've got no. Do other golf courses have this grass up there?
Yeah, the fairways in Exmouth are buffle grass.
The fairways are buffle grass.
Yeah, it's pretty hard yakka there. And then Port Hedland, yeah, basically all of them up this way, they've all got some form of buffle grass as their roughs or fairways.
Okay, that's interesting. And what about your fairways and your tees, surrounds? How does things go as we get towards your greens?
Yeah, we've got a few different varieties. So we've got some wintergreen and common mixes, and then we've got a couple that are more wintergreen, and then where we've had the opportunity to replant, we've gone with Santa Ana on the tees.
Have you found out, is either of, so let's go between the common, the wintergreen and the Santa Ana, is there any one of those three that performs better than the others on your side, or it's never really been anything that you've noticed?
Well, the wintergreen's probably hardiest, but the Santa Ana with the right treatments is unbelievable, and can be really, really good.
Okay. Very interesting.
But we have issues with cooch mite and things like that. So
okay.
If it's left untreated, you can imagine it's just decimated.
Just gets smashed.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay. And what about your putting? So that's tees, fairway, surrounds, a mix of different parts of the golf course.
Yeah.
Greens, I think you mentioned velveteen before. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, we went with velveteen. We put a trial plot in early before we even finished the retic system. So we had what did we have? We had some TIFF, and we had some Saltine, velveteen, and some Santa Ana. And I came to the decision before we even did the trial plot that we were going to go with the velveteen.
Okay. Had you had experience with that anywhere before, or just on your research and everything you'd done would suggested that was probably going to be the best pick anyway?
I'd actually had zero experience with it. I'd seen Saltine, but I'd never seen the velveteen.
Okay.
It was available, and funny story, one of our local lads, Stephen Dartnell, he had been and played at Natadollar Bay, and I think that was when Steve Layla was looking after it, and he reckons that it was the best greens he's ever putted on. So I thought, if it grows there, I'm sure it can grow here. So let's have a crack at that.
I'm going to sound completely ignorant. Where's that golf course?
Fiji.
Oh, okay. Righto. So they'd had...
Not the same rainfall, but, I thought, well, it's on the coast and it's going to get a bit of salt, and it's going to have a few things against it.
Hot, humid, all that sorts of things that they get over in Fiji as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a bit of an idea. Now, for people listening that aren't sure what velveteen is, it's a paspalum, isn't it?
Correct.
So it can handle the salts. A lot of places I've heard that look into it initially is often because they have recycled water is one of the reasons that they look into it as well, because it can deal with the bicarbonates and everything.
Yeah, it seems to enjoy it a fair bit up here. It actually grows out against the couch, so all our greens are actually getting bigger rather than smaller, which
No,
is fantastic.
are you serious?
Oh yeah, loves it.
Wow. So it has lateral growth.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, through stolons and rhizomes,
Yep.
I take it, does it?
Yeah, it has some fairly fat rhizomes compared to a lot of other grasses out there. And early on, when you first plant, you get a bit of surface activity, but with some treatment, they disappear, and you end up with a really good surface.
Wow. Okay. So, did you, not having had experience with velveteen to maintain it, did you learn some tricks along the way? Have you had to play with it a little bit? Have you had some fun trying to work out what it likes, what it doesn't like?
Well, unfortunately, like I'd love to be able to dust them up here, but our sand isn't of the finished quality. They don't sieve it very well up here.
Okay.
So I've pretty much treated them like bent grass, other than the fact that we do get in there and groom them a bit heavier through summer. Lot of primo over summer just to control the growth. Obviously, with the effluent water, they want to go real hard. So if there's no primo on them, you could get anywhere between 6 and 8 catches of grass off them, and there's less than a hectare of greens. So you can imagine they just want to just go nuts with the heat and the water. So yeah, we groom them. We pretty much maintain the canopy just with the groomers, and our height of cut doesn't change through the season. So we sit at around about 4 mil with Wileys. So whatever that will be, somewhere in that 3.2 to 3.5 mil.
Yep.
They get rolled, and they come up all right.
Awesome, mate. That's fantastic to hear. So you're a golfer in your background, and I don't mean to be rude to...
Well, not a golfer, mate. I turn up. The golf ruins a good walk. You know how it is.
Well, okay. So where I'm trying to get to is that you've got experience with being a golfer, and that you putt on a green. You know what it's like. You're not a without being rude, you're not a 30 hacker that plays a couple of times a year. So you know what you want to deliver on the putting green surface. And I'm not being rude to the members of Karratha or the people that are up there. I'm sure you've got some very good golfers that are part of the club as well. What's it been like to try and get good, where you're happy with those surfaces? Was it pretty easy to get going, or did you find it challenging?
Early on, because the level of service that I'm supposed to be, because I'm actually a standalone company that's a contractor to the city. So
okay,
they have a level of service agreement which is, it's not vague, but it's a little bit less than what you would if you were at a private club. Yep. So, they're saying, okay, over summer, mow your greens 5 times a week, over winter 3 times a week. Well, we all know that that's not going to give you anything decent. So,
yep,
we go in well above that, and provide a roller and primo the greens, and we try and get that leaf fined up and get them to a position where I'm happy with them. But obviously we are a public golf course at the same time. So
okay,
you're trying to, promote the game for everyone's abilities. There's certain times of the year where, they're certainly not as fast as I'd like them, but everyone enjoys it. So,
and this goes back to a little bit with the questions at the start of it. It's about picking the right, setup and arrangement of delivering a turf surface for your clientele, for the golf course, for the site, the situation, all those things combined, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So next week we've got a 2-day pro-am. And my main concern is how strong the wind will be, because if it gets up, it just takes away all your pinnable positions that you'd love to use to make it a challenge for them. But at the same time, you want to produce something that makes them go, wow. They turn up to Karratha and some of them aren't sure what to expect, and they turn up and have a game, and they can't believe what they get to play on.
I've heard there's a pro that I played down this way, travels around Australia, Mark, to play in the Pro-Am circuit, and he said to me that he really loves getting up to Karratha. He reckons it's one of the best fun golf courses that he loves to play, and when he travels around Australia playing golf in the Pro-Ams. And I've heard from a couple of people that have also visited that they reckon Karratha is just so good, and they just really enjoy it. What do you think when you hear feedback like that from people that aren't locals? I think sometimes people don't know what to expect when they get to Karratha. I wouldn't.
Oh, there's people don't know, and that is, it's nice to be able to be out there working. You have these, it's sort of like a one-stop place for the grey nomads. They'll pull in, they'll get their fuel and their food, and they'll keep going. But yeah, they stop, they have a game, and all of a sudden they're stopping for a few days, and they play 2 or 3 games, and they're really excited that there's something that's in the middle of nowhere. That's it is fairly unique site. You'd probably say it's linksy in a way, and they get to putt on some pretty good greens.
That's cool when you hear those stories that they're staying, so they can play it again. I mean, that's unreal, and it is a bit of a for people who are doing laps around the country. That's certainly one of the stops along the way you hear, which is great as well, mate. I'm curious. You mentioned you're a contractor to the city to look after the golf course, but can you tell us what you've got that? In terms of how many people make up your team? You mentioned there's a bit of volunteer help. Is it just you with volunteers, or how are you able to look after the golf course?
Well, at the moment, there's 3 of us that will work through winter. But I've also been looking after the renovation side of things for the city in town for the last 5 years. So over summer and spring, we sort of expand out to 5 or 6. At the moment, 3 of us full-time here, looking after the greens, the fairways, all the greenkeeping side of things. So the renovations, fertilising, spraying, stuff like that. And then we have the club has a memorandum of understanding with the city, and they look after bins, moving tee markers, mowing the tees, mowing the rough, things like that. Bit of whippersnipping. So
okay, so there's a little bit of help. It's sort of a shared load along the way with some volunteer help from the club. Do you personally? You mentioned there you 3 through winter and you boosted to. How do you go getting for yourself? This is for your business as part of the maintenance. But how do you go getting those extra people to work with you? Because we hear all over the place in metropolitan areas, in our biggest capital cities, how hard it is for some clubs to get staff. Now I keep saying you're 1,500 kilometres from Perth. That's the nearest capital city, and you're in a town in a larger city of Karratha that's to 25,000 people. How do you go about getting couple of extra people on your team?
Yeah, it's not easy. You do. Obviously, there's always going to be a lot of unskilled labour out there, and you get these guys and spend a lot of time with them to try and bring them up to where they need to be. So over summer this year, I actually had a couple of backpackers. Couple of lads from Belgium.
Wow.
Spoke more French than English, and that made it exciting. So, but they were really good. They had no clue when they got here. So sometimes that can be beneficial because you can drum into them what your expectations are early.
Sure.
They were really good. And they've only just left me in April, so it sort of worked out well. I've just been lucky enough to pick up a qualified guy who's missus got a job locally, qualified guy from Melbourne, and he's been fantastic so far. Wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's huge. It's going to make life a lot easier. So
absolutely.
Every summer when you've got to get extra labour, you've got to go through the whole process of rolling the dice again, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. I have had some local guys previously, but it's been hard to have that consistent workload.
Yeah, for sure.
You know how it changes with turf from season to season. There's periods where there's just not much on. So
absolutely, it certainly makes it hard to. Yeah, it just naturally, that's what happens. It goes up and down. That's the nature of the beast. And even the fact that you have consistently just hot throughout the year. I mean, what is winter? Hang on. Before we talk about how things slow down in winter, what is winter in Karratha? Callum, tell us.
Well, it's windy.
Is it really?
It's very windy. This morning, I think it got down to 14.
Oh,
okay. And it was bloody freezing, to tell you the truth.
Hang on, that's this morning and overnight 14. What's the day temps? Come on.
I think it was 24 today.
Oh, okay. So it's still reasonably cool. Like, if you're used to that weather up there, if you can handle the summer ridiculously of the humidity and 40 degrees, that's genuinely, you're going to feel that 20 degrees in the day as being quite cold.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, normally we've got a howling easterly for all of winter. If the weather's horrible in Perth, it's beautiful up here. So next week, I think, Friday, I think it's back up to 28.
Wow.
Overnight minimums of 19, 18, 19. And we might even crack 30 next week.
Man,
We're lucky.
if that's winter, I'm walking around shorts, t-shirt, and I'm sweating. Oh,
It's pretty good. Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
wild. I'm looking
you
for
don't complain
aircon.
about winter up here, that's for sure.
I'm looking for air conditioning during the day. That's outrageous. Oh, I love it. I love hearing the stories. I'm curious, you mentioned the wind. See, I wouldn't have picked that. So this is a windy time of the year for you guys, is it? Apart from cyclones, but this is a windy time.
Yeah, it's a weird one. We basically go from howling westerlies in the afternoons over summer to howling easterlies in the mornings through winter. So
Wow.
it's
Okay.
sort of the opposite of Perth. I suppose they get their high pressure systems down there in summer, and we get more of the low pressure changing.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then when they've got their cold fronts and their low pressure systems coming up from the south, we've got the bulk of the high pressure system. And I suppose that's what you get when you've got such a big country. You've got
Yeah.
such different weather patterns across the whole place.
Yeah, because if we're in Europe somewhere, we'd be talking a different language and we'd have a different
100%.
country, a different
Yeah,
head of state. It'd be all
that's
different.
exactly right.
It's wild to consider that way. It's overall, again, because I don't know that part of the world, so it's hard. I can't even picture it. Is that landscape reasonably flat? Like, have you got any mountain ranges anywhere away from you, or is it just all flat? I don't know.
We're pretty flat. Once you need to travel south of town, probably about 70 or 80 k's, and then it starts to rise up into the Hamersley Range, and
Oh, I've heard of that.
then you've
Yeah.
got Karratha out there as well. So when we get thunderstorms over summer, you're always looking at them. You're never getting them because they're out there over the top of the hills. So
Oh, okay.
rains quite a lot out there.
Because that's a Hamersley Gorge, isn't it? With that wonderful.
There's a lot of water holes out to the
Yeah.
south of us.
Yeah.
But really, we're right on the coastal plain, and
Okay.
it is a real plain.
So the wind would just, if it whips up, it's really, there's nothing to stop it.
No, and it actually is quite cold.
Yeah.
No one would believe it, but it is. It's cold. I was told that I'd be putting a jumper on the first winter I was here, and I was like, don't be stupid. And yeah, I'll put a jumper on.
There you go. So you're from Exmouth, obviously, growing up. I know it's a little while ago now, but is it different how you remember Exmouth?
Well, it's definitely changed. The whole town's changed, but it's exactly the same. Yeah, winters and summers are pretty similar.
Yeah.
The only good thing they've got going for them there is they're out on a bit of on a cape, so they've got the cooling effect of the ocean from the east, the west, and the north. So it doesn't. They don't have as many hot days as what we do here.
I'm not. It's in my view. That's all relative. It's just all hot, like it. But I appreciate what you're saying. With the water all around Exmouth, it has a different effect. Yeah. Okay, well, that's enough of the geography, Steve. I like to hear that. No one else listening probably cares, but anyway, it means a lot to me. Regarding the golf course, I like to hear this one because when we get people that go up there to play golf, I like to reference it so they can sort of think of what you've said. Do you have a special part of the golf course, somewhere that's a bit unique or something that you like to, is there a special spot around the golf course that you can talk about to share with people that when they get there, they might be able to look at?
It's probably just the location in itself.
Okay.
Because we're so much on the coast and we do have a bit of elevation, there's quite a few really amazing views. We've got the Burrup Peninsula that runs on the west side of the golf course, but it's a spit of land that goes out into the ocean about 50 k's.
Oh, so wow.
It's an incredible piece of land. So yeah, when you're looking north, you've got that out in the ocean, you've got views over the bay, and then to the south, you've got these big rocky hills full of spinifex, and at certain times of the year, you've got massive thunderstorms behind them. So, yeah, the whole place, it's a pretty special patch of land.
I was going to say, it just sounds magical. Really does.
It's pretty cool. And then the good part about it is because we are on the right side of the hill, we're usually about 5 degrees cooler than where all these other poor buggers have to work out in the LIA. So,
what's an LIA mean?
Oh, the local light industrial area.
Oh, okay.
So that's it's only a couple of k's from us, but it's on the other side of the hill, and it can be 50 degrees out there, and it can only be 45 where we are. So we're in the right place.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to clip that and use that somewhere. It could be 50 out there and only 45 over here. That's fantastic. I like it. That's an extreme environment, dude. Like, how does the cooch go in summer? Like, I know what cooch is going to do here on the East Coast in Melbourne, where they get the hot, dry, northwesterlies, and it'll be blowing 40 degrees with a 40 or 50k wind. We're talking seriously baking heat and humidity. How does a Santa Ana go? Because I've found the drier the air, Santa Ana really loves. Like, if it's a hot, dry air,
sure,
it just laps it up. And I was in the mountains, and we would get, 32 was extreme for us in terms of heat, right? But in the sun, it would hit 65 degrees Celsius sitting on the ground, right? So you would get that with a dry heat and dry ground. If we had a humid summer, the Santa Ana just didn't like it. So what have you found that it prefers any particular type of season or part of the year more than others? Does it still grow quite well apart from the cooch mite and stuff in the humid part of your season?
Well, the humidity only kicks in sort of January through to March. So
okay.
The rest of the time it's just bloody hot and dry. So, I mean, with the treated water that we've got, we're on an allocation, and we get a shy over, 1 million litres a night. So trying to water that area of land, we actually segregate the golf course and try and do some deep cycle irrigation. So, we water 9 holes every other night, punch out about 3,000 litres of wetter soil penetrant over, the 9-month summer that we have.
Yep.
And I find that, we're in negative ET from probably, talking September through till May.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, the grass is in recovery for the rest.
Yeah,
other
right.
than, when it goes into dormancy. It does actually go into dormancy, believe it or not.
Okay, so it does. Yeah, righto.
It knows when it's cold, and
it still acclimatizes, right? It's still
absolutely.
Still, it's all relative. Like I say, I go back to it's relative for us as humans. It's going to be relative to the plant as well.
But it's a funny one because as soon as that humidity gets up in January, we get some improvement in the turf quality, even though we're putting out the same volume of water. So when it's landing, it's actually staying in the ground and not disappearing. I'm assuming the humidity is holding it in place.
Yep. It's like a blanket.
Basically, that's how I look at it. Yeah. So the turf does improve when the humidity comes in, but as I said before, we might only get 2 or 3 decent rain periods, but that water going back in the profile will last a month if you're lucky, and you'll see the improvement in the course.
So a couple of things I'd like to dive into, mate, if you don't mind, and part that you mentioned before was you got these metre deep roots in some parts. And you said that you'd need to do part of unique watering, different ways you've got to water. Tell us what you meant by that, and it's probably a little bit of what you were sort of describing there. What did you mean by, I still can't get my head around a metre. Like, if I stand up, like it's up to my waist. Like I just don't, it doesn't comprehend.
Yeah. It was something more so I noticed when we put the irrigation system in. So this is even when we had a system and things were breaking and grass was dying and stuff. We did all the trench work, and the roots are going well down below the bottoms of the trenches. So it's quite insane. But that's just the soil profile that we're running is there's that much space, there's that much oxygen.
That's incredible.
They just keep going. So part of the fact that we don't have very much water and it is effluent. So we try and put out 2 or 3 cycles in a night, but we'll give it a good drink so that it actually gets in. And the fact that we've managed to, over years of trying to give recommendations, we've managed to get some penetrant into the injection system now, and that's just made a massive difference to the quality of the turf surfaces.
Right,
Obviously,
and just getting that water just to keep going down.
getting it off the top and
Yep.
into the surface,
And pushing it through rather than it just, you're flooding up pretty quick, I imagine, and running off.
You can imagine when it's hot on top and it just sheens and the water just pulls and runs off into areas where you don't want it. So,
That's
the
unreal.
penetrance made a huge difference of putting out, about 10 litres a night every night for 300 nights. So we give it a rest over winter and change our program slightly and put out some other stuff when we know the water's going in the ground.
So what's the genuine part of winter you talk about? Is that like just June, July sort of thing, or July, August, or is it just...
June, July, August is absolutely magic up here.
Yeah, okay.
Other than the wind, yeah.
Yeah, you keep talking about the wind. That's incredible. I would not have picked wind. There you go. So the genuine 3 months of winter is really genuine winter for you guys, and outside that, the rest of the time, it's essentially growing time.
Yeah, you don't count your growing degree days up here, mate. Run out of fingers and toes very quickly. So, last year we started October with a week of 40s, and that was
October.
That was the worst start to summer I've had since I've been here. Generally, we don't get a 40-degree day. Well, for me, my memory of it, you get through to Christmas before you had a 40-degree day, but last year was just hideous.
Wow, 40-degree week of 40 in October.
Yeah, it wasn't very nice.
That is staggering. So we go to your water. You mentioned you got treated effluent. I assume that would have been a pretty big deal with the city getting, it's all about recycled water. It's all about being efficient with things up there by way of water, no doubt. Sure. You're not going to want to be using potable water. It's just not going to be allowed, let alone happen. And I don't know what your bore water would be like. So you don't have any other, there's no stormwater harvesting, there's no bore water use. It's purely just effluent water?
Correct. Yeah, we've done some. We've tried to find some water around town, but there's just nothing suitable.
Yeah. Okay.
So
is that you mentioned? I think you said it was a mega night. Is that is that a cap? Is that how it works? You just get delivered that, and you've got to use it, or how does that work?
Yeah. Well, I've got to share with the rest of town. I think there's the Generally, every day the treatment plant's making somewhere in the vicinity of 3 to 3.4 million litres, and then we've got almost locally there's probably another on top of the golf course, probably another 40 hectares of turf that needs to be maintained.
Okay, those sports fields and other things, gardens and stuff.
Yeah, sports fields, playgrounds, and things. So I get the lion's share, but it's still doesn't go very far when it's 40 degrees.
For sure.
As you can imagine. So.
Yeah. No doubt. So is that, have you found that water source challenging in terms of the salt content, things like that? Is you mentioned, I know you talked about that you're needing penetrance to get the water in and get it through, that sort of stuff, but does it affect your turf quality? Did you have to change anything there, or do you use calcium-based product? I'm sure you will. How did that work for you?
I think we're lucky enough when we do get rain, it does wash the profile a lot, and you can see that flush of growth as soon as we've had rain. Obviously, things that aren't available are available.
Yep.
The salt reduces. Everything is quite happy. So at the moment, we actually haven't put out any calcium based products at all.
Wow.
And everything survives quite comfortably. There are certain sites, I think it's site specific, but there's there's definitely sites in town that have been built on poorer profiles, and we looked after a site recently, and we went and put out 2 tonnes to the hectare of gypsum, and the change in the turf for the next 2 months was incredible.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I wasn't sure whether you needed to do that on the golf course, but you don't.
Yeah, no, I try and over winter we try and put some inputs into the soil, so we try and get some of that goodness back in, so that the soil's looking after the plant more so than anything.
Yep.
But yeah, we haven't really had to worry too much. We're lucky that when we do get rain, it flushes out really well.
That's really good to hear. It makes a big help for sure. Mate, invariably with a place like Karratha and its location to the rest of capital cities and so on, logistics can be challenging. Looking after a golf course in a part of Australia like that, can you tell us about any challenges that you've had to that you have to deal with? Is there anything like that you've come up against? I'm sure it's a pretty self-sufficient township and city, but I'm sure there's also equally things that might be a challenge to get to you. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not too bad. There's obviously no ag store. You can't just go down the road and expect to pick up some of those normal products that you would if you're in the city. So a little bit of planning comes in. Obviously, I've still got some great relationships from suppliers from when I was working down south. So we plan ahead. We get things ordered and we schedule when we're going to have deliveries and things like that. So we've got stuff on hand when we need it. Occasionally, we might run into some issues with the retic side of things because obviously the specialty products. So your normal plumbing store doesn't hold certain things. So occasionally, we run into a bit of a drama and we've might not have retic for a week because things aren't available. But generally, we've managed to create a bit of a stockpile. The city looks after a fair bit of the retic side of things and holds stock on hand. So, there's certain suppliers that are very helpful and can have things available within 24 hours.
Yeah, wow. Okay. There you go.
I think it's just a bit more planning and just, what you're not going to have available and what you need to have ready to go if problems occur.
I mean, you've been there for long enough now. You've probably got an idea of which things are going to be the curveballs, and you're planning. Like you say, you're prepared for the other everyday stuff. That what is it like? Can you get overnight stuff? Like you're 1,500 k's away.
There's certain suppliers in the country that may be looking after some retic that can get you stuff pretty quick when you need it.
Okay, there you go. That's good to hear. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's quite amazing that they can magically package stuff up and put it in a box and put it on a plane, and you do see it within 24 hours, which is incredible.
Wow. Okay, well, that's good to hear.
But some of the freight companies up here run like a 3-day schedule during the week, so they'll leave Perth on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Okay.
So things like turf, it usually arrives in town 48 hours after it's been cut.
Yeah, okay.
Which at certain times of the year is perfect. At certain times of the year, you're still struggling when it turns up.
So
it gets a bit hot.
So if you need turf, do you try and grow? Do you have turf there that you want to grow on site for fairways or for your green? Do you have nursery greens and that sort of stuff? Because it is a challenge logistically.
I've got 20 nurseries and I've got 18 nurseries. So we do. We harvest off the fairways if we need to do any construction.
Okay.
We just GUR it, feed it, top dress it, and
then it's back.
In 6 to 8 weeks, she's back ready to go.
Oh yeah, because you haven't. They're all stoloniferous plants. It's not. That's right.
Nah, so I've probably done that my whole career. We just steal from the best turf we can find. If we want to transplant.
Well, it makes sense, right? You've got it there.
Yeah, and when we were doing the construction of the greens, early on we had a really good supply of good quality grass, and then that quality supply disappeared, and we got permission to harvest on site. So we used our putting green and our 18th green as our nursery.
Right.
And we ripped the crap out of them and picked it all up and shredded it with the vertimower and chucked it out.
So when you say you got permission,
well, plant breeder rights and all that stuff. So
wow.
There were certain licenses that were being used.
I would not
Perth.
Have thought of that. There you go.
Yeah, so we got permission from the license holder, and they understood that they weren't able to deliver, so they gave us permission to use what was on site.
Yeah, okay,
which was
fair enough.
Bloody awesome for us.
Yeah. Well,
because it's coming like we were planting it minutes after harvest.
Yeah, exactly right. So there's no delays. Literally just cut and drop, done.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. But I
Mm.
wouldn't have known or realised about that licensing or the permission to do so. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an interesting thing to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah, some people probably fall into a trap occasionally if they don't know that
Yeah.
there's people out there that pay lots of
There
money
you
for
go.
these licenses.
Yeah, indeed. Now, mate, you mentioned we touched on the fact that Richard Chamberlain redesigned the golf course, and I've had him on the pod before, like I mentioned. But I remember when I had him on the pod, he talked about Karratha being one of his favourite projects that he's ever done. How does that make you feel hearing those words from Chambo?
Yeah, Chambo and we've had a fair bit of fun doing this. Him, myself, and Chicka King. No, we definitely mixed a fair bit of business with pleasure. There was a few beers consumed, and we got up to some mischief, but we managed to deliver a pretty good result. But I think there's just the whole thing, like the people he got to deal with before I was on the scene. You know, they're
Yep.
all down to earth. They're really passionate, and being able to, go from the start to the finish. And unfortunately, he hasn't been on site to see the finished product. He's only seen it in
There you go.
photos and videos and stuff. But
Wow.
yeah, he hasn't been back to play the finished product yet. So hopefully
Wow.
I'll get him here one day.
There you go.
But I was just probably spoilt that he trusted me to deliver his vision. I suppose that's probably been, one of the highlights is that he let me have a crack, and I had his contour plans. I went out there in the Bobcat and I just pushed everything around and got it finished.
Yeah, wow. That would have been a lot of fun to be able to get that. It's got your hand all over it, literally, in many ways. Also with the final details of construction.
Yeah, it was good fun. I really enjoyed it. You're sort of looking for what's next now. What can we go out there and do? Another 9 holes would be nice.
Yeah, wow. In terms of golf, do you get much golf at Karratha? What's that look like?
It's not as busy as you would imagine. There's, we get about 60 on a Saturday, and midweek comps are sort of in that 30 to 40 range. But there's golf out here every day. It's a funny town because it's all shift work. So you've got people here every day that some of them, might be on 7 days off. They might be on a month off. You just don't know. But, it's quite a young town. Even I think yesterday I had 2 blokes out there and both were pushing prams and getting around and having a good time. And
how good's that?
They got infants in the prams, and I had a lady out there today pushing the pram around, and
that's unreal. That's so good.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's so good. That's good to hear that more different, younger demographic than we might traditionally hear in other parts of the country, certainly in metropolitan areas. So, like you say, a younger crowd, a younger town.
We might have maybe 15 to 20 retirees as members, and the rest of them are all, 50 and younger.
Wow, there you go. That's awesome. Thinking a bit about your career, have you got a mentor or anyone that helped shape your time? You mentioned early on back in the day. I remember you said it was down at Busselton.
Yeah, I think I was lucky enough that there was a lot of knowledge, and I managed to glean a fair bit from him. But we had some pretty amazing lecturers in WA. John Forrest he definitely imparted a lot of passion and a lot of knowledge at the start as well. But lucky enough just to have a lot of good guys in and around, and we were able to, we travel, we get along and talk and get on the beers and, talk shit about grass, which is pretty crazy.
Well, that it comes the knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
You just talk, as you say, you just talk shit about grass. It's your topic of choice. It's what you do for a living. It's easy to talk about random stories and things that pop up. And hey, we did this last time, and surprisingly that worked. Who would have thought it? You know what I mean? You throw stuff around, and it's about I call it about having fun with grass.
Yeah, it can be. it can kick you in the guts every now and then too if you do the wrong thing.
Well, that's true, but with trial and error comes, you're going to get great responses. Somewhere along the line, you'll find a sweet spot, and you go, well, I didn't think that was going to happen, but lo and behold, look at that result.
I think it's really important to get out of your office and go and talk to people. go and see what they do. And you know, you don't have to acknowledge it at the time, but there's just so much information out there that other people are researching and doing, and it works for them, and there's no reason why it won't work on your side. I mean, I picked up information only last week from a bloke. We were sitting there having a beer after the pro-am, and we got talking about, you know, colorants and sun cream for the greens and all sorts of things. It was really cool.
Yeah,
so
wow.
Stuff that I hadn't really gone into. So yeah, I think it's the most important thing is just always, you know, communicating with your fellow professionals and finding out what they do, and if we're all doing better, then golf's better, isn't it? So
absolutely. 100%. Sharing information is certainly a big thing, and it helps us all become better at what we do. No doubt about it. With that in mind, mate, is there anything in our industry that you think we can do better? Is there anything that you've thought of over your time and the things that you do, and something that, you know, pops up from time to time? You know what? We could probably do that better.
Probably just that. Taking time out of your own day to go and listen to other people and what they do, and just seeing how that could be, you know, taken into your own facility, whether it's, you know, turf or safety or, you know, just mental health with your staff. There's lots of things that people do differently that, you know, you can use. So
managing people, dealing with people,
all that stuff. It doesn't matter what level of greenkeeping you're in. Just get out there and just talk to people and ask questions, and especially if you don't know stuff.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Look, Callum Hitching, it's been great to have you on the podcast and sharing a lot about Karratha Golf Club, and also congratulations on your career in your journey and getting up to Karratha and the work that you've done there to build and be involved with and preparing and caring for the golf course, this unique golf course in Karratha. Mate, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing everything with us. It's been great to have a chat and a different insight into somewhere unique in Australia that we don't often get to talk about. So, mate, I really appreciate you coming on and saying yes to being involved, because it's not always everyone's cup of tea, but it's like what we finished with, sharing information and sharing knowledge. It's great to hear these things, and hopefully we can help someone else get a way of getting up there and enjoying Karratha as well if they get the opportunity.
That'd be awesome. Very exciting anytime I get the chance to cross paths with a turfie, because they're few and far between up here.
I bet they are.
So thanks for the opportunity, mate. Appreciate it.
No, Callum, thank you so much for being involved in John Deere Keeper of the Greens. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Superintendent of Karratha Golf Club, Callum Hitching. And I really appreciate Callum taking the time to join us on John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens. What a great story. What a wonderful place for a golf course. Out of this world, right? That was a great yarn and really interesting insight into a look. I've had Jason Johnson on here in the past when he previously was superintendent at Broome Golf Club. I've also had Jimmy Downs, as you know, and he's had a great story up there in the top end and on the places that he's worked on some wonderful golf courses in remote locations. And now it's great to have Callum on talking about Karratha Golf Club in the very unique location that it is up in the northwest of Australia. I love the details. I love the challenges. And you know what? If you've been there before, I'd love you to share with me. Send me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or an email to thegolfinggreenkeeper@gmail.com and let me know if you've been to Karratha Golf Club, because, like I mentioned, a few people that I know who have been there think it's unbelievable, and it's an outstanding golf course for where it is in particular, and it's an enjoyable redesigned golf course that they enjoy playing too. So if you've been there, or if you've been there in the past, or you're looking to go there, let me know, because I think that'd be great to hear from you just the same. Now, please like, share, subscribe is always the rule of thumb. A review would be amazing. I really appreciate any help and support of passing this around. Sharing the podcast around would be amazing as well. So I do say thank you in advance. A big thank you to podcast partners John Deere Golf, John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, as you know. Check out their website at deere.com.au to find out where your local dealer is. You can get in touch with them by punching in your postcode, and it'll show who your local dealer is that you need to talk to if you're looking to upgrade your machinery or just get a better understanding of what's available if you're looking at things in the future. And, of course, the National Turf Conference is coming up. The ASTMA Conference is coming up. And we're looking forward to seeing you at Trade Show Stand number 30, the John Deere stand. And I will be there for the week of the Trade Show. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for another segment of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens. You hit 'em clean, we'll keep 'em green. And I'll catch up with you very soon.